Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Russell Wilson sends clear message about Broncos HC Sean Payton amid good news. Russell Wilson landed on his feet with the Pittsburgh Steelers after his release from the Denver Broncos during the 2024 offseason, and he is grateful to head coach Mike Tomlin for helping him do that. Wilson said as much, mentioning Tomlin in the same breath as former Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll as great coaches. However, Broncos head coach Sean Payton was notably absent from that list. I've been fortunate to play for two really special coaches in terms of men and how they think, and how they process the game, Wilson told Pat McAfee on The Pat McAfee Show on January 22. Obviously, Coach Pete Carroll and, obviously, Coach Mike Tomlin are really unique individuals in how they lead and motivate. I think they're culture builders. Wilson's view on Payton, who has as many Super Bowl wins as Carroll and Tomlin, seems clear. Payton and Wilson clashed, resulting in the 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback being benched for the final 2 games of the 2023 season. Payton and the Broncos cut Wilson before year 1 of the latter's 5-year, $245 million contract during the 2024 offseason. The head coach downplayed the difficulty of the decision despite the historic $85 million dead cap hit the Broncos incurred. Wilson signed a 1-year, $1.2 million pact with the Broncos. He seemed destined to re-up with the Steelers this offseason. But a 4-game losing streak to end the regular season led to a loss to the division rival Baltimore Ravens in the AFC wildcard, putting that in doubt. Wilson says he and the Steelers have already held preliminary discussions about a new deal. Nothing is imminent. Wilson also suggested it could depend on which direction Tomlin and Steelers general manager Omar Khan wanted to take the roster. He praised the work they have already done in that regard. We have been starting to talk a little bit, obviously, and we've had our meetings and everything else, and kind of just getting into it, Wilson said. I think that it's an exciting time, I think, obviously, to be a Pittsburgh Steeler and the opportunity of what we can do. Omar and Coach Tomlin, man. I really love those guys and who they are, and the team that they put together, and the team that we can put together. And so I think that's a big part of it. Wilson had 2,482 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions on 63.7% completion in 2024. He started 11 games, 12 including the postseason, after a calf injury sidelined him in the preseason. Moreover, Wilson believes returning to Pittsburgh would be good for himself and the Steelers' offense. Dante Jackson issues a warning to Steelers fans who might want Mike Tomlin fired. The Pittsburgh Steelers were one and done in the playoffs once again, and it's led to some calling for Mike Tomlin's job. The Steelers won a Super Bowl in Tomlin's second season, but since then, playoff success has been hard to come by, especially in recent years. The Steelers have not won a playoff game since the 2016 season when they beat the Chiefs in the divisional round. Since then, however, it's been 6 straight losses for Tomlin's Steelers in the postseason. Simply getting to the playoffs doesn't seem to be enough for the fanbase anymore. Cornerback Dante Jackson issued a warning to those who want the team to move on from the longtime Steelers head coach. While appearing on the Christian Kuntz podcast, Jackson told Steelers fans to be careful what they wish for. The message to the Tomlin haters, I would just be like, be careful what you wish for, Jackson said. I've seen in my 6 years in Carolina, I've seen 3 coaches get fired during the season. Some guys go through their whole career and not see one head coach get fired. Period. Not let alone during the season. I've seen 3 get fired during the season. That's crazy. I've been under 3 interim head coaches, and in 6 seasons. Jackson joined the Steelers last offseason after spending the first 6 years of his career with the Carolina Panthers. His time with the Panthers led him to really appreciate what the Steelers have with Tomlin, especially after watching multiple coaches get fired during the season, which he said on the podcast. It sounds like Jackson is warning Steelers fans that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. If Pittsburgh were to let Tomlin go, they might find themselves in a tough spot finding a head coach who can bring any sort of success to the organization. While Tomlin hasn't been able to get the Steelers to a Super Bowl since the 2010 season, he consistently has this team winning and making the playoffs even when it looks like they have no business doing either of those things. Not many coaches will be able to pull that off. That being said, the goal is to win Super Bowls, and if your team isn't doing that, the seat is going to get hotter for every year you don't accomplish the sport's toughest task. Jackson is right in that the Steelers might have a tough time finding someone who can win consistently, but eventually another deep run is going to have to happen, or it will be officially time to move on from Mike Tomlin once and for all. Pittsburgh named best landing spot for top free agent corner. If the Pittsburgh Steelers want to take another chance on a free agent cornerback, they might land on the New York Jets' DJ Reed. Pro Football Focus Mason Cameron released a list of best suitors for the top 15 defensive free agents and connected Reed and the Steelers. Reed is PFF's number 6 overall free agent and its number 1 corner. Reed enters free agency after notching his 6th straight season with an overall grade above 70.0, accomplishing the feat across 3 different franchises. In 2024, he recorded a 51.28% lockdown rate, continuing a trend of standout play that defined his time in New York, where he ranked in the 91st percentile among outside cornerbacks over 3 seasons. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who rely heavily on their corners in closed coverages, the highest rate in the NFL this past season, would be a natural fit for Reed. Pairing him with rising star Joey Porter Jr. could solidify their secondary and enable the Steelers to maintain their aggressive defensive identity. Though Reed could re-sign with the Jets, he sounds eager to hit the market. "I'm ready to go to free agency, bro," Reed said, via Tyler Dunne of Go Long via Pro Football Talk. "I'm ready to see what's next for me." Overshadowed by big names like Sauce Gardner, Reed has quietly been consistently excellent for the Jets since signing with them in 2022. Starting 46 games over that span, he's broken up a whopping 32 passes and picked off a pair. Active against the run, his high tackle numbers reflect how often he's around the ball, Reed averaging 73 stops with New York. But that isn't for a lack of coverage skills, as his lockdown rate indicates, and as the article says, fits the Steelers' closed coverages in which they play lots of single high safety without help over the top. Brian Baldinger praised Reed during the year, noting he was playing as well as any corner in the league. Not turning 29 until November, Reed remains in the prime of his career and shouldn't break the bank for Pittsburgh to sign. PFF predicts he'll sign a 3-year deal worth $42 million, a $14 million yearly average. A chunk of change that would make him the highest-paid outside free agent in Steelers history, narrowly surpassing LB Patrick Queen's 3-year, $41 million deal he signed last offseason. But that value wouldn't even put Reed in the top dozen of cornerback contracts. With Porter and Reed on the outside, the Steelers could expend draft capital on the nickel position. That's an area that has been badly neglected since Mike Hilton left for the Cincinnati Bengals after the 2020 season. Pittsburgh has a host of pending veteran free agent corners. Dante Jackson, Cam Sutton, and James Pierre are all slated to hit the market come March. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of DJ Reed? Leave your opinion in the comments.